Okay, this is matrices on the calculator. Okay, so what we're going to learn is we need to learn how to input matrices. Okay, so that's the plan. We're going to learn how to add and subtract matrices. We're going to learn how to multiply matrices. We need to find the inverse of a matrix. We want to use RF. And we want to find the absolute value. But what does absolute value mean? Determinant. So this is our plan. Okay, so this is our plan. I'm going to go back and forth between the calculator and no calculator. But we definitely need to be able to write down where everything is in your notes. So let's start with that. Okay, so you're going to write down, so for the future, because you're going to want to know where it is. Okay, so right now I'm not showing you my calculator. All we're going to do right now is write everything down so that you have something to go back and reference later. So don't try to do this on your calculator right now. Just write it down. So input, you're going to go, so this is right here. Okay, so to input, you're going to go to the matrix menu. Okay, but don't go there now. Okay, this is going to be a second button, and we'll look for it when we look at the calculator. Okay, so you're going to go to the matrix button, and on the matrix button, there's three things. There's names, math, and edit. Okay, so we're going to go to edit. Okay, but you're just writing this down right now. Okay, so just write it down. So you're going to go to matrix, then you're going to go to edit, and then you're going to pick the letter that you want. In my case, I'm going to pick A. Now, when you go to edit, okay, and when you go to edit A, it's going to ask you for the dimensions. So it is going to needs the dimensions. So when you're doing the dimensions, you're going to remember that's rows by columns. Okay, so matrix, then edit. I won't put the colons, but basically this is the order. Matrix, then you're going to pick the edit menu, and then you're going to pick which matrix you want, and then you're going to type it in. To get out of that section, you're going to hit second quit, and I'll show you where that is. For adding matrices and multiplying matrices, okay, so this is both of these two columns here, so I'll just put it in both. In order to grab a matrix, you're going to have it say matrix A like this, plus matrix B. Okay, and then the same thing for this one. This is going to be matrix A times matrix B, so it usually puts that in there, matrix B. So what we need to be able to figure out is how can we make the brackets. Okay, so you can't just type in the brackets on the calculator. What you're going to do is you're going to go back to the matrix menu. Okay, and you're going to pick names this time, and then you're going to pick matrix A. And for this one, you're going to go back to your matrix menu, and then you're going to hit names, and then you're going to do matrix B. In the meantime, you would have to hit second quit. Then you're going to hit a big plus sign, right? Plus or times. And then you're going to go and do the whole process again with the matrix name B, second quit. I believe you don't have to hit second quit for this one, actually. I think once you hit the names, I think that's actually it. I'm not doing it on my calculator right now, but I'm pretty sure that's it. So then you add, you're going to add here, or you would multiply. Okay, for the determinant and the inverse. Now, the inverse is in a strange spot. So one of the students a long time ago on my HL exam, back in like 2007, he was super stressed because he came out and he said, I couldn't find the inverse button. I didn't know where it was. This is not on the matrix menu. Okay, so this is going to, and write that because that's where he thought it was. So it's very strange that that one's not on the matrix menu. So he looked all through the menu, the matrix menu, looked operations, all this, names, whatever, edit. He didn't find anything. So when you go to matrix, there's names, math, and edit. And so he couldn't find it anywhere. It's actually the non-second. It's actually the face of the matrix button. So what you're going to see is you're going to see a button, and let's draw it out. You're going to see a button called X -1. We see it as a -1, but the calculator sees it as an inverse. Okay, and then the top of that button is where the matrix is in another color. Okay, so the matrix is the top, the second button on top of the inverse button. Okay, so that's actually where inverse is located. So what you'll do is you'll find matrix A the same way you did over here. And then you will hit that button and it will put a little -1 on it. And then you hit enter and it'll give you the inverse. And we're going to do all this on the calculator. But if I just show you how to do it on the calculator, later on, if you need it in a year, in 2 years, when you're in college, all of a sudden you'll think, where was that again? And you never wrote it down. So we're going to write everything down first. RF is going to be on the matrix menu. Okay, but it's on the matrix math menu. So you're going to go to matrix, you're going to go to math, and then it actually is very close to the bottom. And it's RREF parentheses. You press that. And then you go and you find matrix A. Or whatever matrix you want. Determinant. Where do you think determinant would be? I don't know if catalog absolute value works, but that's determinant. So that's actually also on the matrix math. Matrix math. And it says DET. So DET is for determinant. So what it'll look like when you type it, it's going to look like DET, and then it's going to look like this. And actually RF looks like that too. So RF eventually will look like this on your calculator. And then you hit enter. Okay, so write everything out here. Maybe take a picture of it. Oh, well, you don't have to. As long as you wrote it down. Okay, you could take a picture. But as long as you wrote it all down, then when I go to the calculator, you're not going to be able to see any of this. I'm going to take a picture just to make sure that I didn't mess up any of these calculator options. I do the calculator thing a lot, so I think I know where it is, but just in case we'll see. Okay, and then I'm going to show you the problems that we want to do. Now, for the inputting matrices, we have to do it on every single one. Okay, the reason we're doing these is for super, super big matrices, but let's start by just doing friendly matrices. And let's see, let's do this. Okay, so let me show you my matrix. Okay, the first matrix we're going to use for A, this is for adding. So we'll call it little a, adding. B is going to be multiplying. C is going to be find the determinant of A. And D is going to be find the absolute value of B. Oh, and then E, let's have it find the inverse of A. And F will have it be the inverse of B. So we're going to do everything except RF. Okay, let me take another picture of that. Oh, let me find the matrix though. Okay, so let's decide on a matrix. Okay, so our matrix, let's say we have a 3 by 3. So 2, 3, 4, -1, 2, 7, 5, 3, 19. Matrix B, I'm going to also have matrix B be a 3 by 3. It'll make it so I can do all of these. 10, 20, 30, -1, -2, -3, 5, 10, 15. Okay. So we're going to try to do all of those things on the calculator. Okay. So let me go to my calculator and let's see. It's kind of nice after you've done all the stuff by hand. It's super nice to be able to do things on a calculator. Okay, so my calculator, Wabbit Emu, is right here. Let me move it so I can see it. Okay, so let me show you the buttons that you're going to be looking at. Okay, so one of the buttons you're going to be looking at is the matrix button. Okay, so look around and see if you can find it. Okay, it's right here. At least on my calculator, it's right here. See the x to the -1? That's going to be when you want to do a inverse. That to get the -1, you can't do an exponent -1. You have to hit that specific button to mean inverse. And then matrix for mine is blue, so I'm going to have to hit the second button. Another button, I said second quit. That's here. You're going to hit second and then quit. You guys know times and adding. So those are the buttons that we're going to be using. Okay. So the first thing you want to do is you want to hit the matrix button. So you're going to hit the second button and then matrix. My pen's going to go away as soon as I hit. There's a pen button on here and it's about to go away. So, okay. So do you see your calculator? Do you see all those spots? They might be in slightly different spots on your calculator, but this is where they basically are. Okay, so I actually have to press the buttons. So I'm going to go second. I hit the second button. That's why there's an up arrow. And then I'm going to hit the matrix button. Now, if you look at our instructions, we didn't want names right now. We wanted edit. And that's because I want to put matrix A into the calculator. Okay, so I'm going to hit enter. Now, my matrix says 1 by 1, but usually it won't say 1 by 1 because it's going to be whatever matrix you use last. Now, what size is my A matrix? My matrix is a 3 by 3. So then you have to type your numbers in. So when you hit enter, it goes across. So I'm doing the across numbers. Now, I highly recommend that when you type the numbers in, you go back and check that you type them in correctly. Okay, so I type them in pretty fast, but then I check 2, 3, 4, -1, 2, 7, 5, 3, 19. Okay. I typed it in correctly. Now that's matrix A. If you were only finding the determinant or you were only finding the inverse, then you wouldn't need to also put the matrix B in. But we are going to put the matrix B in because we want to add, we want to multiply, we want to find the determinant of A, we want to find the determinant of B with the other notation, and then we want to find A inverse and B inverse. So we want to find all that stuff. Okay, so now I'm going to hit second quit to get out of this screen. And then I hit second matrix again. And I want to edit, but this time I want to edit B. So I went down to the B row. And there's my matrix A, which is a 3 by 3. I'm going to go to edit. Now where I got there is I went to the matrix key. Okay, matrix button. Then I went to the right and I went to the edit column. Hitting enter on B. It's also a 3 by 3. Oops, I hit 3 by 1. So 3 by 3, so you do need to know the size. Okay, that's funny. A 33. Okay, that was a lot of rows. Okay, so you're going to type in your numbers. Okay, and I'm hitting enter between each of these. If I didn't have my phone in my hand, usually what I do is I have my calculator. I'm using 2 fingers on my calculator. One for the numbers and then one for the enter key. But in this case, I'm not. So 10, 20, 30, -1, -2, -3, 5, 10, 15. So that's your matrix B. So that's how you enter matrices into the calculator. Okay. I'm going to hit second quit to get out of here, but the calculator still knows who matrix A and matrix B are. So you're going to get out of here. And then what you're going to do is you're going to type in matrix A and matrix B. Now, if you went alpha, if you did alpha, okay, if I did alpha A plus alpha B, it is not going to add those 2 matrices. It gives me 1. What the heck is 1? So that's where if you look at what I wrote for A plus B and A times B is you have to go back in and grab the matrix. So you're going to hit the matrix button on your calculator. Matrix button on my calculator, but this time I don't want to edit it. I don't want to do any math on it. Well, I mean, I do want to do math, but the math and multiplication and addition are on my calculator keypad. So names, I want matrix A. So see how it has the brackets around it? And then I just hit the plus sign on my calculator. And then I need to go find matrix B. So to find matrix B, I'm going to hit second matrix again. Which menu do I want? If I go to edit, it's going to make me change B. I don't want to change B. I already have B. So B is this one, number 2. And you can also hit the 2, but I usually just use the arrows. Enter. And then I hit enter, and then it adds it for me. So then that's the answer. I'm going to take a picture, and I'm going to write that down later, but you can write it down right now. Okay. So that is for the adding. So how are you going to multiply? Well, you're going to do the same thing. So try to do the multiply. So you're going to do second matrix, names, times, second matrix, B. Okay, so you're going to find those matrices on the matrix menu under names. Then you're going to hit enter, and it did all the calculations for you. So the calculator is super awesome when it comes to matrices. But we also need to know how to do it by hand. Okay, we also have to know how to do it by hand. Okay, the next thing on my list, I believe, was determinant. So let me check my photos here. Camera. Was C determinant? C was determinant. Okay, so determinant, we wrote under the determinant column. You're going to go back to the matrix menu. And it's under math. And look, it's the first one on the list. Determinant. The second one's kind of cool. It's called T transform. What it does is it changes your rows and your columns. So if it used to be 2, 3, 4 sideways, then it comes 2, 3, 4 down. So interesting. I didn't learn that until college. It was using the letter T, and I was like, I don't even know what that thing is. It was like, you know, it was talking about a matrix, and then it had a little T where the inverse normally would be, and I was like, I don't even know what that is. And then when I found out what it is, it's like, oh, well, that's super easy, but I just didn't know what it was. So that's why we want to make sure that you practice, because you don't want to be in the situation where you've never seen a matrix before. I know some teachers have said that. Oh, I didn't see matrices, and then all of a sudden in college they were using them, and what was I supposed to do? You know, and then they had to learn it real fast. So we're just going to try to have you learn it now, which is when we usually teach it if we were not out of school at this point. Okay, so I have to find matrix A. So I can't just type in alpha A because that's a number. A is a regular number. I need the matrix. So that's why I have to hit the second matrix button. And then I want matrix A. So determinant of matrix A, and then that's what it looks like. So it finds you the answer. So 144. Okay, so try to find matrix B, determinant of matrix B. And don't go and, you know, use second entry to go up, which you can do usually. And I would sometimes suggest that, but you definitely want, right now, you're trying to practice where things are. So second matrix, I look at this and I think names no, edit no, right? And then you see it right there on the math menu. Okay, so matrix B, how do you get matrix B? So you're going to go back to matrix. You're going to go to, not to edit, you're going to go to names, and then there's your B. Now, why did I, 0. Oh, that's cool. That means it's going to give me an error, right? That was amazing. You guys, I just randomly picked those numbers. I don't know why we got 0, but it's going to give me an error when I do the inverse. Okay, so that was just really dumb luck. That's kind of exciting. Okay, so now I need to do the inverse. So inverse of A, you got to go back, you got to find A. So finding A, usually it's a matrix. So, I mean, you're going to remember and be able to find it. So years from now, if you need it. Okay, they actually took this type of matrices off our HL test. So this isn't, the inverses aren't on my HL test. But it is potentially in college. Okay, so I need to do an inverse, and this is where my student was suffering. He's like hitting the matrix menu, looking through the whole list, row swap, RF, cumulative sum, list to a matrix, matrix to a list, augmented matrix. I don't even augment. Oh, maybe that means add the other matrix to it. Okay, anyway, we don't use that one. Rand, identity, fill, dimensions. Maybe it'll tell you the dimensions of one. I don't know. Okay, probably. Transform, which we don't know. Okay, anyway, so I go to edit. It's like, where the heck is inverse? And he's looking. What's he going to do? Then he goes back here, and he tries to do arrow to the -1. Oh, it works on the new calculators. On the old calculators, it didn't. Oh, that's super exciting. Okay, hold on. Let me go back to Matrix. Make sure it's the same answer, but it gave him an error. Oh, perfect. Oh, let me show you another cool thing. It's called change to a fraction. Now I can go over to check out all those numbers there, but I'd rather have them as fractions. Oh, that's so exciting. So it's not as much drama as it was before. Okay, it was so sad and so stressful for him not to find that button. Okay, but there's another button. We should write it somewhere. It's change things to fractions. If you hit the math button, so here, let me color it for you. This math button has a lot of good stuff on it. So where you find NCR and PR, factorials, it's where you find absolute values. Okay, but what my favorite is the first thing on the list. So I hit math, enter, enter. And I don't even read what it says anymore, but I'll show you what it is. So I'm going to take, I don't think they'll let me now hit math. No, look, it just makes a bunch of blue. Okay, so let me take off my pen, hit the actual button. I forgot what I was doing. Oh, I was hitting math, enter, enter. So math, enter. See where it says arrow fraction? That means change to a fraction. So it changes to a fraction for you. So if you didn't know that, that's super helpful. Okay, super helpful. Okay, so that is the inverse. We don't know how to find the inverses by hand. Well, we do. We can use RF, but we definitely don't want to do that. So this is okay if you want to just find the inverses this way. Okay, so that's how you find the inverses. Now, if it's one of the questions that says show that it's the inverse, then you do need to show the multiplication. And if it doesn't say GC by it, it wants you to do it by hand because we're having you practice by hand and with the graphing calculator. If you don't have a graphing calculator like one of these at home, you can go, if you have an Android like I do, that's where this is from. This is called Wabbit Emu. Let me write the letters for you. It's WABBIT Emu. I have no idea why. Or you can look up Rhode Island on your computer. This is on an Android. You can look up it used to be on Rhode Island, and then you'd look up like TI-84, and it was an online Texas Instruments calculator. And if not, it might be worth the money to buy, if you can't afford right now to buy one of the big calculators like the one that I have. What you can do is you can buy the iPhone app. Okay, but you definitely want to be practicing with the calculator that you're going to be using in the future and next year. Okay, so Wabbit Emu is what I'm using. Okay, so that was all for that, except I wanted to find B inverse. So how do you find B inverse? I go to Matrix, names B, and then I hit inverse, which I'm going to hit that button, but the exponent to the -1 also worked. And look, it says error, singular matrix. Singular because the determinant is the single number 0, and that's a singular matrix. So no inverse exists. So that's cool, but that's because our determinant was 0. But that was just an accident. But that's an excellent accident. Okay, so there's no inverse, and that's what we'll write. Okay, so let me go back to my other screen. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my other screen. This is my new tablet, so I'm not super fast. And then let's write down all the answers. So the work you would show is basically nothing. Okay, so all you would write is you would just write the answer for A. So the answer for A was, part A was adding them. So this was the answer, right? This was the matrix answer. -2, 0, 4, 10, 13, 34. B is A times B. A times B, and like I said, you would just write the answer, which means if you were taking a test on this, like in college, you really want to make sure that you double check that you type the numbers in right. Okay, because if you don't type the numbers in right, then these are wrong and there's no work and no partial credit. Okay, C. C was to find the determinant of A, so determinant of A is 144. D. The absolute value of B, and where B is a matrix, is really the determinant of B, and that notation you do have to know, and we said that was 0. That's why there's no inverse. Okay, E was find the inverse, so the inverse of A, and then we changed it to fractions. So that was 17 over 144, negative 5 over, I think that's a 16, 13 over 144. The determinant being 144 makes sense. The negative 5, 6 is reduced. I don't know the formula for 3 by 3s. There's not really a formula, but it does involve the inverse. Okay, this is negative 1/8. This is negative 13 over 144. So the determinant is in the front of that one too, but there's not a formula that we use. It'd be like too hard to memorize. Okay, and then F was no inverse, and that's because the determinant is 0. I probably shouldn't just put determinant equals 0. I should put determinant of B equals 0. We'll put because. Also, there's no inverses if they're not square matrices. Square matrices means that you have the same number of rows and columns. Square matrices. Okay, so now what I need to show you, RF is amazing. You're going to love RF. The inverses you're not going to love too much because you still have to do some of the steps. Okay, but let me show you. Let's solve a really complex one using both ways. Okay, so let me show you here. Okay, so we're going to have a bunch of letters. So 2x minus 6y plus 3z minus 6a plus 2b equals 12. Let's do x plus y plus z plus a plus b equals 20. 6x minus 2y minus 2z plus 3b equals 42. X minus y plus z minus a plus b equals 100. And what could another equation be? 5x plus 3y plus 4z plus a minus 7b equals 12. Okay. Now we're going to do it both ways, okay? So the first way is going to be my favorite way. This would be if they say use Gaussian. They might say use Gaussian-Jordan elimination. They might say use RF. Now RF stands for reduced row echelon form. And that means that you have ones as the first number in each row, and then you have the zeros above every one. Okay, so same thing that we had talked about, but we just didn't call it that name. So that's what RF stands for. There's also a ref, which is the zeros don't go above, but you might as well just go to RF. Okay, so the work that you would show is you would show your augmented matrix. Okay, so you're going to put your numbers in. Be careful of your negatives. Okay, be careful of your negatives. If there's nothing there, you put a 0. Okay. And you write RF in the front. You put equals, and then you put what the answer is. Now the answer should be the identity on the left side of the dashed line, and then on the right side it should be the answers. And that's all. And then you write your answers, like as coordinates. So you'd write your X, your Y, your Z, your A, your B. Probably you'd write your A and your B first. But if you label, I guess you'd get to pick. Oh, I have too many. I have too many. Okay, you could write them like that, or you could do alphabetical order, which is more standard. Right? And that should be these answers. Unless something weird happens with my matrix. Hopefully not. Let's do this first. We're going to do this, and then we'll go to the other one. So let me take a picture of this so that I can change screens. There's Wabadimu. So how am I going to put that matrix in? Now, it does not do the dashed line. Okay, it does not do the dashed line. But when you go to matrix and you go to edit, you just pretend the dashed line's not there. Now, that doesn't mean the numbers aren't there. Okay, so the numbers are still there. So what you're going to need is it still has 5 rows, but I need 6 columns because I also need the 12, 20, 42, 112 column. So I do need that column. So you're going to type the numbers in. You're going to try to be real careful. You're probably going to be slower than me, but more accurate. And let's see, 120. Yep, see, I already messed up. Let's see. Okay, that's a 12. Okay, that's annoying. Okay, my 5x6 is too big for my comfort of checking. I think I'm going to go down. 6. I think I'm just going to go down 1, 5, 2, 1, 6, 1, 5. Okay, I can't hit enter though, so it's annoying. I have to hit my down arrow. -2, -1, 3. I'm doing this because that last column I'm not going to be able to check until the end. Okay. 3, down arrow. I definitely like 2 hands. One could be on the arrow and one could be down here on the number. 4. Oops. 1, 4. Okay. Let's see. -6, 1, 0, -1, 1. Okay. This one is 2, 1. Oops. 2, 1, 3, 1, -7. Now I'm trying to be careful, but sometimes it just does not help. Okay, I think I'm being careful. I think I got all these in. Okay, but please know, if I make a mistake, just put it in Google Classroom. I'll attach it to the end of the video. I really appreciate, I do not mind if you catch my errors. Okay, I'm super happy if you catch my errors. I remember Mr. Chen a long time ago. He used to give candy bars for people who caught his errors. And I told him, shoot, I would go poor with candy bars. My students would get all hyped up on sugar. Okay, I think he stopped doing that, but he used to think that was a good idea. And it was an awesome idea. Okay, Mr. Chen, Mr. Fengshen, Ms. Nicholas, those are your calculus A/B teachers next year. They're super awesome. And then I teach HL, and Mr. Fengshen and Ms. Herzog teach BC. Also awesome. You're going to be in very good shape, whatever math class you take past ours. Okay, so let's see. Definitely take calculus, though. Definitely take calculus. Okay, so let's go back. You want to take calculus right next to math analysis. That's the reason. AP Stats is also a great class at our school, but you need to take calculus right after you take math analysis, and so it's not a good idea to take stats after math analysis honors. Okay, so let's go back to my OneNote, and I'm here. And did I do? Nope. I got to go back to the calculator. Okay. So I got my matrix in. I hit second quit. Now I have to do RF. So where was RF? Look at our list. We put math. We didn't put math. We put matrix. So you go to matrix, but there's a math on the matrix button. And then you can go up. I went up instead of down. So I know it's towards the bottom. So I don't usually go down because I'm like, where is it? Where is it? Okay, so I usually go up instead because I know it's at the bottom. Okay, RF. RF of what? What did I put that in? I think I put that in matrix A. So then you have to go back to names, matrix A, close parentheses, hit enter. Cool. Look how beautiful that identity matrix is. You can kind of see the dashed line, even though it's not really there. Should we round? I think maybe we should round. I want to check out what these fractions look like. And I hit math, enter, enter. Yeah, I think I'm going to round. I don't know. I probably shouldn't round. Oh, I don't have to round, right? Aren't they dots? Okay. So either way would be okay. And then it might say round to the nearest blank. And then usually that would be 3 decimal places because we want to get you ready for AP. And AP is 3 decimal places. So that's it. So I'm hitting second quit. I don't really have to do that. But right now I need to go back to OneNote and I want to write my answer. Okay, so here we go. So my answer is, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, and then this answer, which is my answer. I mean, think of how awesome that would be. Imagine if you had to solve the system and that you had to do that by hand with eliminating the x's and then eliminating the y's. It would take forever. Okay, so this is 161.46 repeating. That means I'm actually an exact answer. 1,181.2, negative 380 or 348, negative 1221.2, and 246.53, where the 3 is repeating. Now, you can't leave the answer in the reduced row echelon form, though. Okay, it's a beautiful thing, but you have to write your answer as a point. So 161.46, 1181.2, negative 348, negative 1221.2, 246.53. Because I labeled the A and the B, I think I'm fine. I'm going to circle it here, but usually you would do alphabetical order. But they also usually have you do in the order that your matrix is in. So I guess I could have had my AB first. So that's the friendlier way. The friendlier way is RF, which is so, complicated when you're doing it by hand. But we're going to also do the same problem. I want to do the same problem, but with a matrix equation and solving with an inverse. So this says solve with an inverse matrix. Okay, now you don't have to write down the inverse matrix on this one because this one's not the by hand one. Okay, so when you're writing this one down, you're going to write the coefficient matrix. The coefficient matrix is the matrix of just the coefficients. Now I'm looking back at the one above, but usually you would look at your system and you look at all your coefficients. You look at all your coefficient matrix. Now I won't have to type this in again. I'll just have to make it a 5 by 5 and it should probably keep it. So that input of those values, since I'm using the same thing. And then you put your letters vertically downward. Okay, and that's because the row times the column is how I get them to line up, right? 2x minus 6y plus 3z minus 6a plus that's a 2, plus 2b equals, and then that would equal the first element, which would be a 12, 20, 42 for the constant column. One of my college professors, when I was getting my graduate degree, he called that the load, but I don't know, that must have to do with some word problems that he was using. Okay, so you do have to set it up. You have to tell me what A is. You have to tell me what B is. Oops, that's not B. You have to tell me the variables, which is X, and you have to tell me B. So all you do is you write it like that, you label it, and then you do this on the left. Well, the thing I did on the left above. So you don't have to show any of this work from here down with the actual matrices. You're going to use the A times X equals B equation. Now, don't just write X equals A inverse B, because the whole purpose is to show the steps. Okay, so you're going to write A inverse multiplied on both sides. Remember, it's left multiplying. So you're going to left multiply by A inverse on both sides. And then do you remember what A inverse times A was? Okay, it was supposed to be 1, but 1 in matrices is the letter I. Then 1, I, which is the identity, times x is x, A inverse B. Now I have to go back, and then I'm going to actually use the matrices. Okay, so I'm going to use the matrices, and then I'm going to find out what A inverse B is. Now I know what the size of that answer is, but that's just because I know there's supposed to be 5 answers. But otherwise you might not know this, and you would just type it in. So how am I going to type in A inverse B? Well, I have to type in A inverse, and I have to type in B. So on your calculator, okay, so on your calculator, I think, let me take a picture so I can type it in when I change screens. That's such an awesome way of technology. Otherwise, I was thinking, how can I do that? I can do a split screen, but then somehow the typing where I type does not get recorded properly, and so it doesn't make any sense. It's all confused. So my Wabbit Emu doesn't work next to my note. Okay, so I'm going to go to Wabbit Emu. Okay, now when you go back to Matrix, oops, so you're going to go back to Matrix, and when you go to Edit, if you hit 5 by 5, it's just going to delete column 6. So column 6 isn't there anymore. So your whole matrix 5 is there. Now, I mean, when you do these, it's not going to be the same exact numbers, but it does help us today. So you have your matrix A, and then you have your matrix B. Now, your matrix B is not your variables. Your matrix B is the right side. So the thing I just deleted. So I go back to matrix, and then I'm going to have to edit matrix B. Now, what size is that matrix B? Rows by column. So how many rows? 5 rows, 1 column. And then if you put the wrong size in, you'll know right away because it'll look funny. So 12, 20, 42, 100, and 12. And if I'm going too fast or too slow, you can change the pace or you can pause on YouTube. So that's B. I'm quitting to get out of that because I got to get out of here so that I can go back in and type A inverse times B. So I'm going to go out. And then I needed to say A inverse times B. So let me type this. So I want A inverse times B. Now, it's not going to look like that though, right? Because on the calculator, it doesn't look like that. So it's going to have to say matrix A inverse times matrix B. Okay? So where is that on your calculator? Okay, so where is that on the calculator? Matrix, names, A, inverse, times, matrix, B, regular, enter. And that's the same answer. How fun. I don't think I've ever done it in the same day, because usually when I'm at school, I'll teach the graphing calculator part of the inverses, and I'll teach the graphing calculator part of the augmented matrices on different days. But how fun. So we got the same answer, right? Which makes sense because it's the same problem, but it's kind of exciting. Okay, and that's all the stuff you have to know how to do on the calculator. So let's just write the answer, and then we'll be done. Next week has some word problems in it, so you could see how matrices can save you some time if you're in the business world. And then it finds like areas of cool stuff. If you have 3 points, like a triangle in 2D where you have 3 points. Imagine you had 3 points and you were trying to find the area of the triangle. Like, would I use law of sines, law of cosines? Like, how would I find area when it's all slanted? So there's a cool formula. There's also something called Kramer's rule, which is another way to solve a system. There's a few different ways. So we'll just get a lot of exposure to matrices. Matrices is not in calculus, and they took most matrices out of HL math. So otherwise, if you didn't learn it now, you won't learn it, and then in college you might need to know it. Miss Tefengshin told me that matrices are pretty important in computer science. So that was interesting. She uses matrices a lot when she used to teach AP computer science. So anyway, some interesting information of why you do want the material. Okay, so I'm going to go back and just put how I would write the answer on the paper. So let me go back to OneNote because I need to write the answer. Okay, so the answer, I'm going to go back to my old picture. So right here, I guess I need to make this a little bit bigger. Okay. bigger. So 161.46, 1181.2, negative 348, negative 122, right there, 246.53. Now that's x, but remember what x is. So actually I should change that x. What was x again? Okay, so what was x? So x was x, y, z, a, b. So x is this one, y is this one, z is this one, a is this one, b is this one. That was the first thing that we learned with matrices, which is how you do equations of equality in matrices. There you go. There's x. You could also write it as a coordinate, or you could write it this way, but you do have to list out specifically, either in ordered pair format or like I'm doing here, what the answers are. I'm just giving you a second choice. I think that was a 5, 3, and that was a repeated. That was a repeated. This was a 5. And then this would be your answer. So the calculator part of this test was pretty good. What we have to choose, see, the thing with chapter 7 is Miss Nicholas said that the matrix test is usually really good. You guys get a good grade on that test, and that would help your grade. So we kind of have to figure out, if we do come back, how could we do that, which would help, say, the grades on your first couple tests, anyway. So we're trying to figure it out. In the meantime, just do as much work as you can, and then whatever way we try to figure it out, we only want to help your grades. We can't give extra credit for this material, but we don't know if we could give regular credit that would help your grade. I mean, how can anyone complain if it's going to help your grade? But we don't want to hurt other people's grades if they're not able to do it because their families are sick or because you don't have enough computers. So try to learn it if you can. Do the homework, upload the homework. Yes, it's not required, but it is recommended, and we just don't know where everyone is at this point. Okay, we have been told that we will be teaching starting April 20th, so we'll see what section we're on at that point, and then we'll figure out what else we're going to do. Okay, anyway, I have an HL meeting in about an hour, so I think I need to rest. This was 3 videos in a row. But anyway, I really apologize for being behind. I was trying to make mock exams for the BC and the AB, and I wanted to make sure that that they kind of had a reflection of their score. Usually we do those on the weekends. So next year, you'll come in. Usually it's not at home. It's really cool. Everybody comes in and you sit there and then you take the exam. And then we know kind of what your score would be, but then you still have, a month and a half to study. And so we found that that's really effective. So we didn't want to have our students lose that experience. And so we were making a virtual mock exam that they upload into Illuminate, and then they upload into Google Form. And it's been kind of complicated anyway. So that's why I haven't been making your videos. I will be much better, and I will try to get these regularly to you so that you can complete the assignments. Again, optional, but as I say, really good idea to do because you don't want to have a gap. Okay, that's why you chose to take honors, is to make sure that you learned everything that we have to offer you. Okay, have a nice day. And I looked at the homework and I feel like I don't need to post another video until Monday. But if somebody finishes all of week 2's homework, just let me know because I can make the videos on the weekend. It's really not a problem. Anyway, I hope you're safe.